If your knee pain exercises aren't working, if you're doing the same exercises day in and day out and never getting long-term relief, I'm going to show you exactly why. I'm Marian Barnick, registered kinesiologist, and over 30 years of experience, I have helped thousands of people decode their knee pain. And I'm going to show you 3 problems that almost everyone with long-standing knee pain has when doing their knee pain exercises. And I'll do this with a simple exercise demonstration that you can try yourself. Now here's what's really important. The third problem that we're going to review is actually making your knee pain worse with every rep. Let's get to it. So problem number 1, I'm starting with this problem because it's the easiest one to see. You are stretching the wrong muscle. Now most people with knee pain stretch their hamstrings, right? It makes sense. Your hamstrings feel tight, so you stretch them. But what I'm going to show you is that you're actually stretching the wrong muscle. So I'm going to do a standing hamstring stretch here. Foot is up on a low bench or a step. Now watch the spine and pelvis. To get a proper hamstring stretch, I need to hinge at the hip with a neutral spine. But look what happens. I can't get my pelvis into neutral position. My spine is rounding or I'm tilting too far forward. That's not a hamstring problem. That's a restriction in my pelvis. It could be hip flexor tightness, it could be capsule restriction, or it could be lack of motor control. So I keep stretching my hamstring without addressing what's really happening at my pelvis. And I'm not fixing the problem. I'm stretching the wrong muscle. And this restriction is somewhere else. Now this leads us into problem number 2. The inability to get that pelvis neutral. Well, that's a compensation problem. My body's compensating for a mobility restriction somewhere in my system. Now, here's what you need to understand, that these compensation patterns, they happen unconsciously. They're at a subconscious level and they happen in milliseconds. You can't consciously correct them. Now, they happen because your nervous system is trying to protect you. It detects a restriction, maybe in your hip, maybe in your ankle, maybe in core control, and your body says, I can't get that movement I need here, so I'm going to change the entire pattern. So you end up stretching in a compensated position, and you end up moving in a compensated pattern, and you just can't see what's happening. This is your nervous system and how it's reacting to the restrictions. And now this brings us to problem number 3, and this is the big one. Problem number 3 is that you're strengthening on top of a dysfunction. And this is the most controversial thing I'm going to say in this video because it means you might be making your knee pain worse with every rep. Now let me show you with a squat. Squats are prescribed constantly for knee pain. Strengthening your quads, strengthening your glutes, strengthening your hamstrings, strengthen, strengthen, strengthen. That's a big thing that everyone says to get rid of knee pain. So it is a primary knee pain exercise. Now, if I can only go part way down, maybe I go to 40 degrees of knee flexion, 50 degrees of hip flexion. I can't go deeper. Now here's the problem with this. Problem number 1, you're getting poor value for your effort. Your hip can flex from 0 to about 120 degrees, and your knee can flex from 0 to about 135 degrees. But I'm only moving through maybe 40 degrees of that range, and I'm getting very poor value for this exercise because I'm only strengthening the muscle through a very minuscule part of its range. And problem number 2 is reinforcing this dysfunction. And this is the bigger problem. I'm reinforcing all of those compensation patterns we just talked about. Watch what's actually happening in the squat. Now, why can't I descend further? There are 2 main things that are most likely happening. Number 1 is decreased ankle dorsiflexion. My ankle can't bend enough to let my knee travel forward, so I can't get my weight down to the ground. I'm stuck up high. And number 2 is an inability to stabilize my spine and my pelvis. I can't control that position. So I start compensating. I start leaning too far forward. Maybe I'm shifting to one side, rounding that spine. And here's what makes this devastating. Every rep I do like this, I'm training my nervous system to move this way. I'm drilling that compensation pattern deeper and deeper and making it more and more automatic, more and more permanent. So not only am I getting poor value from the exercise, I'm actually making the problem worse. I'm strengthening on top of a dysfunction. Now, this is why generic knee pain exercises don't work. They're a one-size-fits-all solution that ignores your individual compensation patterns. And in many cases, they're reinforcing the exact problem that's causing your knee pain. So what's the solution? Well, first of all, you've got to work in the proper sequence. You've got to evaluate to find out what's wrong, fix mobility problems if you have them, build up your stability, and then move to strengthening. The evaluation means you're watching functional movement to identify compensation patterns. How do you squat? How do you step? How do you stand up from a chair? These patterns tell us the mobility restrictions that need to be addressed. When you fix mobility, you're addressing those specific restrictions first. Maybe it's your hip flexor. Maybe it's the thoracic spine. Maybe it's your ankle mobility. We find out where that restriction is and fix the mobility and then start building stability. When you build stability, it means teaching your body to control and to balance, especially with the newfound range of motion. Alignment is key, and all of this happens before we strengthen because we want to be able to do that pattern safely and without dysfunction. So mobility always comes first, because if you strengthen on top of a dysfunction, you are making the compensation stronger. So here's where we are. You can't see your own compensation patterns. They happen subconsciously and in milliseconds. You can't diagnose which muscles need mobility work without observing your functional movement and your functional patterns. And even if you could identify the restriction, you can't know the right sequence to address it. This is why generic knee pain exercises don't work. They're a one-size-fits-all solution for problems that are completely individual. Now, if you've tried those demonstrations and you recognize any of these patterns in yourself, that's your signal. You need to get a professional movement evaluation so you can identify your specific restrictions and your compensation patterns. Now, I offer virtual movement assessments, and we can look at your functional movements and identify exactly what needs to be addressed. If you have questions about this or want to proceed, you can email me at info@marionbarnick.com, or you can visit on the website, marionbarnick.com. I'll link it below in the description. Now, if you found this valuable, subscribe to get more research-based content that goes beyond just strengthening your knee myth, because your knee deserves better than generic exercises. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome day.